Mural Painting 101. This lesson concerns a commercial job done for Tanis Hardware in Haledon, New Jersey. The owner, Skip Tanis, had a blank wall on the side of his building that he wanted to have look like a storefront. So my first step was a quick sketch to make sure I understood his concept.
Now, if you're going to be way back here, the hand is the same distance from the face. But if you're going to be over here, the hand is the same distance from the face, but the perspective is all different. So the first thing I have to choose on this mural is where I'm putting the viewer. I got to decide whether the person walking down the street or the person sitting in their car is the standard by which I want this thing to be judged. Everything in a piece of artwork is how you like, you know, from filmmaking, how like you can set a camera back real far and zoom in and frame it, or you can set the camera close and zoom back, and you can have the exact same objects in that frame, but the way things in depth of field relate to each other are going to change. It's the same exact shot frame, but it's the distance of the camera. So I always have to consider the viewer the camera, and I have to decide right off where the distance of the viewer is.
Once we know which direction to move in, I measure the wall and go into the shop.
The amount of paperwork, if you're going to do it right in the beginning, is really quite a bit. What I do is I always scale everything off 1 inch to 1 foot. I start with a scale sketch.
The scale sketch takes into account any objects on the wall, for instance pipes, conduits, wires, or windows. This wall had none. I need to delineate the slope of the ground since the wall is along a hill. I've marked the bottom of the mural here with a red line. One particular problem on this wall is that Skip wanted to put his friend Hank into the mural standing out front. Only Hank's image couldn't actually be out front because that would bring his feet below the red line where they would disappear into the ground. So Hank had to be moved up above the line in an area of sidewalk painted into the picture. The one complication on this wall was that it had been constructed with an expansion joint running level near the bottom. Because that expansion joint caused a permanent shadow line across the whole wall, I decided to use it as a shadow beneath the sills on the faux window frames. But of course it couldn't be left to run through the door, which had to be solid, and the side windows needed a different angle. In those areas the expansion joint was filled in with spackle. The same was done for Hank's legs.
This is Katie. She's going to be in the drawing.
Okay.
She's Skip Tanis' daughter. What we're doing here is we're trying to start getting the basic foundation of the drawing laid in. Since it's really like an architectural rendering, we're trying to get all the dimensions, get the mullions laid in, get the doorway in, get the sign up top laid in. Then after that it gets a little more creative. That's when I'll start making the patterns and laying everything in the different windows. I'll actually treat each of the 4 windows as a different panel.
Precision at the start is all important.
Now people tend to draw one hand and make it look good and then the other hand's the wrong size. Ask people, would you build a house and like build and furnish one room and then build the next room next to it and then start building the upstairs? No, you would build the entire frame of the house at the same time. I believe a painting should be structurally sound. I'm looking at this door. This door seems a little big to me, so what I'll do is I'll reduce it on a photocopier about 10%, and I'll place it back in there and use a little whiteout around the edges. I'll create a frame for it.
After the measurements are done and the structure laid in, I conferred with Skip on what objects would best represent his business. Details were added into the sketch, logos gathered up for the signage, and photos taken of the people inside. Then color was added. With an idea of how the finished product might look, along the way I keep making adjustments.
I took a couple photographs of his daughters, Lauren and Katie, and there's another one, Jennifer's going to go in here. And what I did was I reduced these on photocopiers until I got them the size I wanted them, and I cut them with X-Acto knives and I played with them. And you can see I used some whiteout, I changed things around. So what I'm here in the shop today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the photograph, Lauren, and I'm going to figure the scale 1 inch to a foot right here, and I'm going to project her up. And I'm just going to cut a little 3 by 3 foot piece because I figure the artwork's about 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. Give myself a little room. and I'll take it into the back room there, and I'll just start projecting these photographs up and get an idea where I'm going with this. What I'll do first is I'll project the layout the way I have it in scale. Just snap a couple magnets up here. A lot of people right away, they say overhead projector, but it's not really an overhead projector. It's what we call an opaque projector. And what I'm going to do is tape the artwork down onto the projector. First I'm going to just try and get the size of the girls in relation to each other the way I have them, and then later I'll take the photographs and I'll put them into the projector and I'll tighten the image up before I perforate it. Now what I'll do, we'll just get a rough idea. I'm trying to get the size right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rough them in, get an idea where they go. Bring the shoulders around, fine tune it a little bit, and I'll just keep working this until I get comfortable with it and I get what I want. Then what I would do next is I'm going to start making a bounce pattern, which we then have an electric pen here, which we use on the metal table, which causes a series of perforations. And I would start following the lines. When I get this done, I would start following around certain lines. And what I'll do is create a series of holes in the paper. I think Michelangelo and those guys used to actually do it with needles. You know, they're just one hole at a time, but we're living in that age of high technology. And it's piecemeal. It's putting a little bit of this together with a little bit of that, and it's getting it down in your blueprint, getting your patterns right. By the time I get on this wall, I shouldn't have to do a lot of thinking. You know, the choices should be very fun choices about color and things like that, but I shouldn't really have to be doing a lot of math in my head because everything should be down here already for me. So then later on, what I got to do, when I'm ready to do this guy, when I'm ready to put Hank on the wall, which I have the pattern done already, all I have to do is measure this, and I have to figure that his rib starts 5 feet from the wall because it's 5 inches on here. So it's all set up. All I got to do is set that pattern up at 5 feet, put his feet 3 inches, it's a quarter inch here, it'll be 3 inches above, and he'll fall right into place. It's all mathematics, really. What we do is we hit it with the charcoal bag.
And essentially, we now have a giant paint by numbers. Now that Hank's pattern is on, painting the background can begin. Areas are blocked off and left blank where the signs are going to be. Patterns for people and objects inside the store can be placed into the mural.
Now what I've been doing is outlining them with paint markers so I don't lose them. And I can leave them for a couple of days and then I don't have any problem with that. This way I don't have to get back to this right away. There's a lot going on a wall this size. You want to keep building it up, but you don't want to get yourself trapped by having to do anything And then I have all these signs with these logos. You know, now what I'm going to do, I got the background matched in. Just start finding, the downward shadows and the upward shadows and laying in dark blue and white, dark blue, white on the bottom.
I always prefer to work with one-shot lettering enamel if it's going to be an outdoor job. To get the faces started off right, I called on the multi-talented Joe Muti. Kate Tanis turned out to be an awesome apprentice. Her focus and dedication to the project caused me to nickname her Kate the Great. Bit by bit, the wall takes shape. On a project like this, it can seem endless. It wasn't long before Kate's father, Skip, and her brother, Mike, got into the act. I also take some photos of objects to be in the picture, such as the pins on Hank's hat and the neon Benjamin Moore sign. Plenty of other details need to be added to lend the mural depth and context. Eventually, it all gets finished. And that's our lesson. Now go paint a mural.